The desperate scene as mothers, fathers, brothers and sisters arrive at the school where more than 200 girls were abducted.
Germany. Gunmen have stormed an army-run school in northwest Pakistan. We're getting reports that a number of students have been killed and more than 30 wounded at the school in Peshawar.
All right, welcome to Fox & Friends Hour 2. We start this hour with breaking news. There's been a massacre, absolute carnage at a newspaper in Paris. This is a live look at the scene where 11 people dead after a masked gunman opened fire with machine guns. Apparently they got away.
Shot, killed, dead are the words heard repeatedly in our news today. Rare are the times the words survive, love, and peace heard. In many areas of the world, war is believed to be the only answer to achieving peace. One may wonder, what is the objective? Does it matter? Why are they losing their battle? Is it the people? Is it the message? Or is it that the weapon they are using is the wrong one? In today's world, suppression is believed to be the key to achieving the objectives of the people who use violence as their weapon.
Yeah, unfortunately, violence has been around as long as human beings have been around. It is not just today. Every generation feels that there is a lot more violence in this generation than there was before. Unfortunately, violence has been around all the time. And although we have seen repeatedly that violence does not work, but the weaknesses which are in human beings, which is of the lust, the anger, the greed, and the ego, there are many other reasons.
One man walking on the sand, leaving a trail of footprints behind. The world will remember him as the man who saved humanity by creating a legacy of harmony and peace instead of continuing the tradition of war and hatred. One man walking on the sand, leaving a trail of footprints behind.
Innately, people knew that he was a highly spiritual being that was sent to them for a purpose beyond rhetoric. And they listened to him. I mean, they looked at his example. You know, he lived a life that some people would consider impoverished. He didn't, you know, dress in kingly robes or anything like that. The words that he spoke were genuine. And so there was a frequency that he was on where people recognized that this is something different. Violence is the weapon to which a weak person resorts, not a strong person. And that is something a lot of people have not understood to date. And that is where Mahatma Gandhi's example is a great example to the world that for the first time in human history, a conflict of the magnitude of a country ruling another country was settled by non-violence.
There is no cause for which I am prepared to kill.
Gandhi's main principles were ahimsa, meaning non-violence, and satyagraha, meaning holding on to the truth. Gandhi's legacy of peace was the greatest weapon of all times.
They will imprison us, they will fine us, they will seize our possessions, but they cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them.
To the Indian people, Gandhi gave a nation. To the world, he showed political change could happen by renouncing violence, that unjust laws could be defied peacefully and with the readiness to accept punishment. Whether the fight is against racial or religious inequality, Gandhi's weapon of nonviolence inspired other great leaders.
When you think about Gandhi, both Mandela and King learned from Gandhi, his whole commitment as a lawyer to nonviolence. And that became King's legacy in his short 39 years of life. And that became Nelson Mandela's legacy in his 95 years of life. And the reality is that King freed a nation.
The person who has influenced my life in terms of action more than anybody is Mahatma Gandhi.
Let us recognize that violence is not the answer.
You could call out the National Guard. They know how to
I believe firmly that this is
our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country. There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile for us to continue talking peace and non-violence against a government whose reply is only savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people.
I've always found inspiration in the life of Gandhi ji and his simple and profound lesson to be the change we seek in the world. He influenced champions of equality in my own country, including a young preacher named Martin Luther King. Dr. King called Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolent resistance the only logical and moral approach in the struggle for justice and progress. And I'm mindful that I might not be standing before you today as President of the United States had it not been for Gandhi and the message he shared and inspired with America and the world.
What inspired the great global leaders?
It would be lead by example.
Drawn to him from a moral perspective. They saw something greater in him, and he led by example. I think that's why people follow.
Gandhiji started boycott foreign goods movement, and there were bonfires in many places in India burning British cloth, British products, and so on and so forth. And this turned violent in some places. And as soon as Gandhiji learned about it, he stopped the movement. Because many historians make a claim these days, had that campaign carried on, India probably would have gotten independence 30 years before it actually got.
So have we lost the legacy that Gandhi gave us? Have we lost his weapon?
I don't believe nonviolence will ever be lost.
I think we've lost the method of nonviolence, and I think we've also lost connection.
No, I don't believe that the world has lost the weapon.
Political scientist Erica Chenoweth collected data on major nonviolent and violent campaigns for the overthrow of government or territorial liberation since the 1900s. Her research concluded that from 1900 to 2006, nonviolent campaigns worldwide were twice as likely to succeed than violent campaigns. This trend is increasing over time.
It hasn't been lost. I think it's maybe in some areas been submerged, but it's still present there. So I believe it will come back. And I would think it will come back in different ways in different places. It's not going to look, I believe, like it used to. I think the methods will be different, but the principles stay the same.
The thing is, we as human beings are lost in the forest of violence, thinking it solves the problem. Yes, temporarily it might look like it has solved the problem, but in the long run it creates more problems.
Nonviolence was really the only way, that peacefulness was really the only way to solve the problem.
Gandhi had the courage and strength to choose the path of nonviolence and truth. His legacy may not be dominating the ideas of the people today, but it will remain with us always, until someone digs a little bit deeper and finds it again. Only recently, there was an attempt in France to spread the message of peace.
We begin in France with a massive national day of unity. An estimated 1.3 million people pouring into the streets of Paris, a show of solidarity and defiance after the terrorist attacks in Paris this week. World leaders standing shoulder to shoulder, taking part in the march.
The weapon is not lost after all. Gandhi's legacy of peace will live on forever, burning brightly in generations to come. We must recognize that nonviolence is the greatest weapon at the disposal of mankind. Stand up for the truth and be the change you wish to see in the world.